I'm going to try to dedicate at least one video to every current candidate vying for the nomination from the Republican Party.
Greetings YouTube, Remarkable Republican here, and I've come to own undertakerfreak1127 like a chattel slave. Today I'm taking down his video on Ben Carson and why he's not voting for him. The reasons are simple. Undertaker Freak is an imbecile, and he's a racist.
Typically, people like a good speaker, and Mr. Carson could put a crack addict to sleep with his speeches, quite frankly.
I'm no crack addict, but you almost put me to sleep already, and we're only 30 seconds into your video, so good job.
I don't think we want a commander-in-chief who says that the theory of evolution is the work of the devil. It's the work of Satan. I don't know. You see, it just doesn't seem right to me that we put a guy up on a podium as our president and he says to the world that the theory of evolution, the Big Bang and all that stuff, they're just workings of the devil.
And I doubt that homosexuals appreciate you taking their haircut and making them look stupid on the internet by rubbing your hands together. Ben Carson stands up for what he believes in. That's what we need in a president. Doesn't matter if you agree or not, because you're dumb.
In a speech delivered in 2012, Ben Carson said the Big Bang Theory was part of the fairy tales published by highfalutin scientists as a story of creation. Similarly, Carson, a noted creationist, yeah, he's a creationist, said that he believed the theory of evolution was encouraged by the devil.
I deeply admire how you use pregnant pauses, sighs, and refer to him as a creationist as if it were in itself a disqualifying mark. You have no actual argument, so you disguise that with your sarcasm and bullshit. Very well done, Undertaker Freak. Unfortunately, I'm not buying it. What's your actual argument against what Dr. Carson said? Dr. Carson.
Now what about the Big Bang Theory? Said Carson at a speech to fellow Seventh-day Adventists titled Celebration of Creation about the theory of the origin of the universe. I find the Big Bang really quite fascinating. I mean, here you have all these highfalutin scientists, and they're saying it was this gigantic explosion and everything came into perfect order. Now, these are the same scientists that go around touting the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy, which says that things move toward a state of disorganization. So now you're going to have this big explosion and everything becomes perfectly organized, and when you ask them about it, they say, well, we can explain this based on probability theory, because if there's enough big explosions over a long period of time, billions and billions of years, one of them will be the perfect explosion.
Although you chose to do a racist and condescending impression of Dr. Carson, what you ended up quoting ironically was the truth. That is exactly what scientists believe about the universe. Word for word. Word for fucking word. You're an idiot. Also, the whole probability theory, if that's correct at all, then what that would mean is that it would be perfectly possible for a mind like God of the Bible to appear at some point in the history of the universe. It would actually be inevitable that something like that would appear by virtue of us being able to imagine it and that being a possibility. Anything could pop into existence, whether it's a Tostito pizza roll or what the fuck ever. It doesn't matter. Anything could appear.
So I say what you're telling me is if I blow a hurricane through a junkyard enough times over billions and billions of years, eventually after one of those hurricanes there'll be a 747 fully loaded and ready to fly. Lovely analogy that Ben Carson makes, you know, comparing the Big Bang Theory to a junkyard.
It's highly ironic given your tone that you didn't recognize Ben Carson's sarcasm in that statement. Wow. Also, yeah, he's right. Look, it's an absurd claim. He has every right to compare it to a junkyard. It's stupid.
Carson added that he believed the Big Bang was even more ridiculous because there's order to the universe.
All of the planets have regular patterns of orbit, and the life conditions on Earth are perfect for life. Jupiter's the vacuum of the solar system. The sun is the right amount of hot. It's pretty goddamn orderly.
Well, I mean, it's even more ridiculous than that, because our solar system, not to mention the universe outside of that, is extraordinarily well organized to the point where we can predict 70 years away when a comet is coming. Now, what type of organization to just come out of it? Now, that type of organization to just come out of an explosion? I mean, you want to talk about fairy tales. That is amazing.
The quote you just read is exactly why Carson doesn't have to raise his voice. The man makes great points, and he states them well.
Carson said he personally believed Charles Darwin's theory of evolution was encouraged by the devil. I personally believe that this theory that Darwin came up with was something that was encouraged by the adversary. The adversary.
You're actively trying to misinterpret Dr. Carson's words. He's a very religious man, and that's why he states things in terms of good and evil and God and Satan. What he means is that science is rigged by scientists and that it's all about getting government grant money, and they do it because they're atheists. He doesn't mean it's literally Satan.
And it has become what is scientifically politically correct. He had to throw you got to throw politically correct in there to substantiate your claim. You got to throw politically correct in there somewhere. The idea that something is politically correct, so that makes it true. Have you noticed that? All this talk about political correctness. No, I'm right because that's too politically correct. You know, if you say something stupid, all you gotta do is say, well, I don't have time to be politically correct. And then you're right. And then all these people that don't like political correctness go, you know what? At least he can speak his mind. At least he says a thing no one else has the balls to say. No one else says anything because they don't want to look like fucking idiots!
Political correctness was developed as a tool to silence conservatives and allow feminists and other SJWs like yourself to run amok. It is what has poisoned our universities. I would speak more about the problem at universities of political correctness, but you've obviously never been on or near a university, so I'm not going to bother. Suffice it to say, though, that if you want to get to the truth of any matter, you have to cut through the bullshit and see things for what they are. Political correctness is the enemy of that process.
Like Ben Carson, he doesn't take the time to think before he opens his mouth about this shit, apparently. He never took the time to research his stuff.
When you sit on your toilet and talk about Nickelback, Ben Carson reads books about the subjects he wants to know. He went to school, he became a neurosurgeon, he was the best at what he did. Now, the difference between you and him is that he knows what he's talking about. The man has access to the best scholars in the world, and he has the intellectual tools to actually look at things and discover new information. Something that you certainly can't do, and even I, being quite a bit superior to you, have trouble doing. Ben Carson has even uncovered the fact that pyramids were most likely suited to be granaries, and most likely were the granaries that Joseph built in the Bible, and that archaeologists have disguised that fact.
Use Trump as your candidate. No amount of email servers in the world would lose Hillary that election if you put him in there.
Your true agenda, serve Hillary. Like most Hillary supporters, you have no idea how serious the email scandal actually is.
And if you want to give us a bigger gift, choose Mr. Ben Carson. I don't know how was this guy number 2?
Ben Carson appeals to people who believe in God and people who are seekers of truth and people who don't like political correctness. Also, given the fact that he's black and Americans prefer to elect black people, you'd be a fool to want him nominated.
What has he really said and done that makes sense? Oh, we need a flat tax. Okay, you and a billion other people.
Again, Ben Carson speaks truth to power. We've known that we've needed a flat tax for many years now, and we haven't gotten it. That's why he keeps campaigning on it, and that's why he keeps succeeding by campaigning on it. And if, like, a billion people want it, then doesn't that mean that in a democracy we should at least put up a candidate who runs on something that people want? What do people want that Hillary stands for? What do people actually want that Bernie represents? Not a goddamn motherfucking thing.
And his boring demeanor and this crap, how is he number 2? What is it that people see? I don't get it.
Yeah, you're right, you don't get it. Because you're not an educated man. You don't know what an intellectual looks or sounds like. And the reason why you can't recognize Ben Carson for what he is not because of the problem with what he's saying. The problem is that you are a racist. You see his skin color and don't hear his words.
If it is just 2 people, do your research. Because you don't want to sound like this guy.
Irony alert. Yeah, dude, you've never done any research. You're an uneducated fuck. You are accusing Ben Carson, the most accomplished neurosurgeon of our era, of not doing his research and sounding like a dumbass. Whatever. You know, you don't respect credentials. I'll let you have the last word. Fuck it, why not?
Okay. Have